The hallway smelled of lemon polish and loneliness. At 2 a.m., the campus was a cathedral of silence, echoing, spotless and indifferent. Somewhere above, the brightest students of Crestmore University were dreaming of changing the world. Down here, Maya Thompson was changing trash bags. She moved quietly, her sneakers whispering against the tiled floor. A grey hoodie pulled over her curls, earbuds humming faint lo-fi beats. Every night followed the same rhythm: mop, sweep, wipe, repeat. No one ever noticed the janitor girl with math books peeking out of her backpack. By day, she was another quiet face in the lecture hall, 23, soft-spoken, too humble for a place built on ego and legacy. By night, she was invisible. And invisibility was safer. Her father used to say, "Clean the floor like you're polishing your own reflection." He'd been a janitor all his life. When he died, the world barely paused. But Maya had promised herself something at his grave. She would finish what he started. She would rise. The vending machine flickered near the economics wing as she pushed her cart past it. She was humming softly when laughter broke her rhythm. Not the warm kind, sharp, careless, cruel. 3 silhouettes turned the corner, students half drunk on confidence and privilege. Carter Reeves, heir to Reeves Holdings, still wore his internship badge from a Fortune 500 company like a trophy. Beside him, Lila and Noah, dressed like success already belonged to them. Carter smirked. "Didn't know the help worked overtime," Lila giggled. "Or that janitors could afford textbooks." Maya said nothing. Silence was safer than defense. But Carter stepped closer, squinting at her backpack. "Wait, you're that girl from Professor Alcott's class, right? The one who never talks." He laughed. "Guess cleaning floors is a good way to study economics, up close and personal." Lila chuckled. Noah looked away. Maya kept her eyes on the floor, the mop moving in steady circles. Her pulse pounded, but her face was calm. She wanted to tell them she understood more about compound interest than all 3 combined. That she coded algorithms in her lunch breaks. That last semester she'd written the top paper anonymously just to avoid attention. But she said nothing. "Hey," Carter called out as she turned away. He tossed a crumpled coffee cup onto the floor. "Missed a spot." Laughter echoed down the hall as they disappeared. Maya stared at the cup for a long moment, then picked it up and dropped it in the bin. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice wasn't soft. It was steady. Not gratitude, resolve. At 3 a.m. she sat in the empty library, still in her uniform, the faint scent of disinfectant clinging to her sleeves. Her laptop glowed with formulas and market models. The janitor's daughter wasn't cleaning floors anymore. She was cleaning data. Lines of code scrolled like poetry only she understood. A new email popped up. Group Project, Team 7. Her heart sank when she saw the names. Carter Reeves, Lila Grant, Noah Stiles, the same trio who mocked her hours earlier. She closed her laptop. Fate, it seemed, had a cruel sense of humor. By morning, Crestmore University was buzzing again. The courtyard shimmered with ambition, heels clicking, blazers gleaming, voices full of self-importance. Maya walked through unnoticed, the same grey hoodie, the same quiet eyes. She'd learned how to move like air, present but unseen. In class, she sat near the back, scribbling notes while Professor Alcott lectured about market disruption. Numbers were her refuge. They didn't care about status or clothes. They respected discipline. And discipline was something Maya understood better than anyone. When the lecture ended, Carter blocked the doorway with that same smirk. "Team meeting tonight, conference room C, don't be late," he said. "We've got a big presentation, and I don't babysit slackers." Maya nodded. "I'll be there," he laughed. "Bring the cleaning supplies. We'll need the place spotless." She met his eyes and said quietly, "I'm good at spotless." That night she arrived on time. They didn't. An hour passed. She outlined the entire project herself, drafted the structure, ran the calculations, designed the model. When they finally wandered in, holding overpriced coffees, Carter barely looked at her work. "Cool, you type stuff," he said. "You can handle the data part. We'll take care of the real work." "The real work?" Maya asked softly. "Yeah," Lila said, flipping her hair. "Pitching, design, the face of the project." She eyed Maya's hoodie. "You're more behind the scenes, right?" Maya nodded once. "Behind the scenes." Perfect, Carter said, already turning away. Email us when it's done. The door clicked shut. She sat alone in the sterile room, surrounded by glossy posters of Crestmore's success stories, young founders, investors, CEOs, people who looked nothing like her. She looked at her hands, rough from cleaning chemicals, strong from work, hands that had held her father's when he was too tired to stand, hands that knew labor, precision, and pride. A single tear escaped before she wiped it away. No breakdown, no self-pity, just purpose. She opened her laptop again. The glow lit her face as graphs and equations filled the screen. Her mind sharpened, calculating, creating, building. Each keystroke was defiance, each formula a declaration. Outside, her janitor's cart waited in the hallway. Inside, Maya Thompson was rewriting her story. The clock hit 4. She leaned back, exhaustion and quiet pride mixing in her chest. On the whiteboard she wrote 4 words. They'll never see me. But she knew that wasn't true. They would. The sun broke through the blinds, spilling gold across the room. The campus stirred awake. Students would walk these halls again, step over the floors she polished, and pass the girl they never noticed. Only now she wasn't invisible. The janitor's daughter had plans, and plans like Brilliance can't be mopped away. The classroom buzzed with noise and confidence. Laughter bounced off polished walls, the kind that made insecurity echo louder. PowerPoint slides flickered across the screen as groups rehearsed their presentations for the big economic showcase. The future of Crestmore University sat in that room. Designer shoes, sleek laptops, and egos wrapped in ambition. Maya sat quietly at her desk, her notebook open, numbers lined up like soldiers in perfect formation. A loose curl slipped from her bun, brushing her cheek, a soft frame against deep brown skin that caught the light when she tilted her head. She'd done the work, every chart, every projection, every piece of analysis that held their project together. But in the corner of the room, Carter Reeves leaned back in his chair, feet on the table, smirking like he owned the place. "Okay, team," he said, spinning his pen lazily between his fingers. "Let's finalize roles for tomorrow." Lila flipped her perfect hair, tapping at her tablet. "I'll handle the pitch. Carter does the intro and Q&A. Noah, you can take design visuals." Then she turned to Maya, smiling that patronizing smile that always felt like a blade hidden behind lip gloss. "And you, just crunch the numbers, janitor girl." The words slid out smooth and casual, like she'd said them 1,000 times before. Carter chuckled. "Yeah, you're good at that, right? Cleaning up the messy stuff." The room went silent for a heartbeat, then the snickers started. Small at first, then growing, feeding off each other. Maya froze. Her pen hovered over the page. Her chest tightened, breath shallow. The word janitor hung in the air like a stain no one wanted to clean. Lila leaned closer. "Don't take it personal, Maya. We're just joking. Everyone's got their strengths." She smiled sweetly. "Yours just happened to involve spreadsheets." Carter grinned. "And mops." More laughter. The professor's assistant walked by, oblivious. The class kept buzzing around them, unaware that a storm was brewing in silence. Maya didn't look up. She couldn't. Her throat burned, her palms pressed flat on her notebook to keep them from trembling. "Just crunch the numbers," she repeated softly. Her voice was calm even, too calm. Carter smirked. "See? Team player." They went back to discussing presentation slides, their voices blending with the hum of the projector. Maya's gaze dropped to her notes, but her mind wasn't there anymore. Every number on the page blurred, reshaping itself into something else. Possibility. Power. Revenge, not of anger, but of precision. The kind that doesn't explode, it evolves. As they argued over fonts and colors, she began sketching something in the margins. Equations, flow models, a new structure, a system inside the system. Noah noticed her writing but didn't say a word. Maybe he saw the flicker in her eyes, the one that had nothing to do with sadness. It was focus, razor sharp. The look of someone building something bigger than all of them. Carter clapped his hands. "All right, team, meeting adjourned. Janitor girl, send me the data by tonight. Don't mess it up. Investors love clean numbers." Lila laughed as they packed up their things. "And make sure to double-check for errors. We wouldn't want our foundation built on dirt. Their laughter trailed out the door, fading down the hall. Maya sat still, her notebook open, her pencil motionless. Around her, the room emptied, chairs scraping, footsteps fading. When the last door closed, the silence hit her like a wave. Her reflection in the laptop screen stared back, tired eyes, dark circles, quiet fury. She'd been invisible her whole life, overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. They thought she was just background noise. They thought she'd stay in the shadows. She smiled faintly. Let them. She closed her notebook and stood, straightening her hoodie. Beneath the surface, her mind was alive, electric. Equations connected like constellations, forming something dangerous, an idea that would change everything. They wanted her to crunch the numbers. She would. But the numbers wouldn't serve them. They'd expose them, empower her, rebuild everything they took for granted. As she walked out of the empty room, the hallway lights flickered above her, the same cold glow as the night she'd cleaned these floors. But this time, her steps were different, measured, certain. Every footfall whispered the same promise. They will see me. And when they did, it wouldn't be as the janitor girl. It would be as the storm they never saw coming. The auditorium was packed, the air thick with nerves and ambition. Students straightened their ties and checked slides one last time as the Crestmore economics showcase began. Rows of professors sat like judges at a quiet tribunal, notebooks open, pens poised. When Team 7 took the stage, Carter Reeves stepped forward first, flashing his easy, practiced smile. "Good afternoon," he began, his voice smooth, confident, the voice of privilege that had never been told no. Beside him, Lila adjusted her blazer, eyes glittering. Noah hovered behind the podium, silent, anxious. And then, in the back row of the room, Maya Thompson sat, her laptop on her knees, the same grey hoodie pulled over her dark curls. Her skin glowed warm under the sterile lights, deep brown against the cold white of academia, calm, unreadable. Carter started the pitch. Charts filled the screen, numbers danced across graphs, projections soared. The audience leaned in. The model was flawless, too flawless. Even Professor Alcott, who rarely showed emotion, raised an eyebrow. "Impressive," he said, leaning forward. "These growth curves, they're far beyond the standard expected at undergraduate level. Tell me, who designed this financial framework?" Silence. Lila glanced at Carter. Carter glanced at Noah. Noah stared at the floor. The silence stretched thin, ready to snap. Professor Alcott repeated, "Who built this?" Carter cleared his throat, his trademark grin faltering. "It was a team effort," he said quickly. The professor's eyes narrowed. "A team effort?" he repeated. "Then tell me, which of you integrated derivative forecasting with compound variance modeling?" Another silence. Someone in the audience chuckled softly. Carter's jaw tightened. Lila's painted smile cracked. All eyes turned to Maya, still sitting in the back, her laptop open, her fingers resting on the trackpad like a pianist waiting for her cue. She exhaled slowly, stood up, and walked toward the front. Her voice, when it came, was steady, low, clear. "I did," she said. The words rippled through the room. "Between my shifts." A pause. You could hear the air change. Carter froze. Lila blinked. The professor looked at her, really looked at her, and nodded slowly. "You?" "Yes, sir," Maya said softly. "I built the framework after hours. The data's real. I verified the projections twice." She met his eyes, calm but unflinching. "I work nights. It's quieter then." Her words weren't loud, but they carried. Every syllable landed like a weight. Around her, the other students sat motionless, their confidence collapsing in silence. The professor adjusted his glasses, scanning the report. "Miss Thompson," he said finally, "this model is exceptional. This is doctoral-level work," the audience murmured, heads turning toward the quiet girl they'd never noticed. Maya's face didn't change. No pride, no smirk, just quiet dignity. "Thank you, sir," she said. The applause started small, a single clap from the back row. then grew, spreading through the auditorium like a slow-building wave. Even the professors joined in, impressed, moved, humbled. Carter stared at the floor. Lila's lips parted, but no words came. Noah looked at Maya, guilt written across his face. She gave him a small nod, almost forgiving. Almost. Professor Alcott smiled faintly. "Well," he said, "it appears we've discovered Crestmore's most promising economist, and perhaps its most hard-working." Maya's gaze swept the room. The same faces that once sneered now watched her with awe. The same laughter that once stung was gone, replaced by silence, the kind that feels like respect. "I told you to just crunch the numbers," Carter muttered under his breath, still staring at his shoes. Maya turned her head slightly, her expression serene. "I did," she said, "and they told the truth." The professor looked between them, understanding dawning in his eyes. Then softly he said, "Class dismissed." As the crowd filed out, a few students stopped to congratulate her. Others couldn't meet her eyes. She didn't need them to. She gathered her things slowly, her laptop, her notes, her pencil, the tools of a girl who had built her own way through the cracks of privilege. The morning light poured through the tall windows, washing her in gold. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible. The young black woman they'd ignored, the janitor's daughter they'd mocked, now stood as the quiet storm that rewrote their expectations. She didn't gloat, she didn't need to. Her presence said everything. Maya Thompson had arrived. The morning sun spilled across the Crestmore campus, painting the old stone buildings in gold. The same courtyard where Maya once walked invisible now felt different, quieter, but alive with something unseen. Months had passed since that presentation. The echo of applause had long faded, replaced by whispers that traveled through lecture halls and online forums. "That's her," they'd say, "the girl who built the impossible model." Some said it with awe, others with envy. And then came the offer, an internship from Helios Capital, one of the most prestigious firms in the country, the kind of place that didn't just shape markets, it defined them. Maya had stared at the email for a long time before it sank in. She'd done it. Not because someone opened a door for her, but because she built one when no door existed. Now, as she stepped through the glass lobby of Helios for her first day, she didn't look like the quiet girl from the back row anymore. The young black woman who once wore a hoodie and carried textbooks between shifts now wore a tailored charcoal suit, her curls pulled neatly back, her stride measured, confident. But there was something still, something unchanged, the calm fire behind her eyes. The receptionist looked up. "Name?" "Maya Thompson," she said, her voice steady. The woman smiled. "Welcome to Helios. Everyone's been talking about your paper." Maya nodded politely. She'd learned that admiration could sound a lot like surprise. As she walked through the corridor, lined with glass offices, a whisper followed her, faint, almost uncertain. "That's the janitor's daughter." The words hung in the air, the same ones that once cut deep. But now they didn't sting. They rang like a title, like armor. She smiled faintly. "Yes," she thought, "that's exactly who I am." The elevator doors opened, and for a second, her reflection stared back. The suit, the ID badge, the quiet pride. Yet behind it all, she still saw the girl who used to mop floors under fluorescent lights, dreaming of formulas and futures. She carried both versions of herself now. Both were real. Both were strong. Hours later, when the office emptied and the city outside turned to dusk, Maya walked back toward the entrance. Her heels clicked softly against the marble floor, echoing in rhythm with her heartbeat. And there by the door she paused. A janitor's cart stood nearby, mop, bucket, rags, the same tools she once knew too well. She walked toward it, hesitated, then gently lifted the old metal bucket. It was dented, ordinary, heavy with memory. She carried it through the quiet hall, past glass walls and blinking monitors, until she reached the main entrance. There, under the tall emblem of Helios Capital, she placed it down, not as a burden, as a symbol, a reminder, a mark of where she began and how far she'd come. Someone passing by looked at her curiously. "What's that for?" Maya smiled. "Perspective," she said simply. She adjusted her blazer, her reflection catching in the glass doors one last time. The same girl, but not the same story. Outside, the sun was setting, the same campus glow she'd once watched from behind a mop handle. Now it looked like dawn. She stepped out into the light, her shadow long and sure. The whispers would fade, the stares would move on, but what she carried, that fire, that proof, would stay. She looked back once at the bucket gleaming faintly under the golden light, then forward again. "You can't mop away brilliance," she whispered. "It shines through every floor,